Da-da-da! What's my good chair? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And I have to tell you, I have tried probably every pair of glasses ever made in the world today, but I think I narrowed it down. Finally, I think Cindy's ready to make a decision on her glasses. It's going to be a little bit different for me, but change is good, and I always welcome change, even in my sense of style. It's why I'm always taking so many clothes back to work as donations. It's just because my sense of style is constantly changing. But like I said, I welcome change. Change is a sign of movement forward. This week, we got that word acceptance. It was a different word, because I've been very, very curious as to the sequencing as the words are coming to us. And I was surprised because, this word acceptance, it just didn't seem to be so pertinent. It didn't seem to be so important in the moment and so impactful. And yet, in contemplation amongst the chores and the few things that I had to get done today, I gave it some thought, and I really still could not figure out why this word was coming right now. So, this morning I watched a post. It was a video done by Teal Swan, and she was doing it on the topic of acceptance. Got a little bit from it, but, it only helped to, what do you call it, fuel up the contemplation on the word itself. Coming into my life after it was all settled in, I made a cup of coffee. I says, oh my goodness, this word is going to stump me for sure. And so I Googled it. I Googled acceptance because in my first perspective yesterday, I thought that was it. I thought that was it. But in Googling it, listen to this, I've come to realize that this word accepted plays a very pertinent role in my life, in my own survival, in being able to keep that physical health, because we know that stress is 80% of the cause of illnesses out there. It's been proven. I'm not an expert on these things, but I try to keep up on the things that kind of rub shoulders in the topics that I work with. And we know Cindy works in stress, right? And not stress myself, because that's kind of seems like something of the past. What does surface, though, still is in that guilt and shame. And when I look at that guilt and shame, it is a way for me to understand the mistakes I make along the way. Um, it does help in my movement in quite a bit. So I looked at it in the same kind of word, this word acceptance. I kind of looked at it the same way. And when I Googled the word, the first thing that came up for me was an idea that I had never even considered, nothing that had ever come across my path, but that this word acceptance that I did. We talked about it yesterday when we talked about first impressions with the word and how I took it, how I used it as a place where I could know my place. I could understand. I could accept, right, where my place was, right? It was in that acceptance of my state of being. But that state of being was only the projections of others, that after a while that I picked up that baton and I ran with that too, because I accepted what other people thought. I accepted what other people said about me. I accepted their good intention, right? Advice. And I trusted their friendship, and I trusted, that you don't sway the people you care about in the wrong direction. So when I Googled this word tonight, acceptance, so I could be inspired and have a little bit of leeway into coming into my life today, it just hit me like a brick upside the head, right? That I'm using this word and have always been using this word, acceptance, as a coping mechanism. And this coping mechanism has hurt me a great deal because I accepted my fate. Like I said, I accepted what people thought of me. I accepted people's dictation of how I should be, how I should present myself in the world, even how I think and even how I feel, right? It was all projected onto me, and I accepted all of that blindly, literally blindly, and didn't even give it another thought. And it was part of how I ended up, right? Not waking up to some of these ideas that I should have woken up to decades ago. I mean, better late than never, right? This is what I say. I'm grateful that I woke up to some of these ideas and that I've been included in this conversation and welcomed in this party, right? But at the same time, I really have to take a serious look at this word, acceptance. If this is truly what I have been doing, if I have been using this word acceptance as right, I saw it immediately, right? Because you go, oh my goodness, you can't get past that, right? I accept it. Nobody expected me to get there anyway. So you know what? Fine. I gave it my best shot. Right? What? You mean I can't buy that outfit? That outfit won't look good on me? Oh my goodness. Okay. Right? I really loved the color. Really, the fabric felt amazing on me. But yeah, you're my friend and I trust, right? That you know me better than I know myself. I accept, right? I accept that you're right and I'm wrong, and right, I won't buy that outfit. I'm just using these as analogies, as an example of things that how we can just accept our fate because somebody told us that this was your fate, this was your destiny, this was all you're good for, right? And for the most part, good for nothing. And I accepted that, right? My choice, but it was my choice, intentionally or unintentionally, negatively presented as if I didn't have a choice. And I say this often, you guys hear me say this often, right? I don't cry over spilt milk. And I have to look at that, right? Because 80% of our stress levels, right, causes, right, our illnesses, 80% of it is triggered and is fed by our stress, right? Being accepting of my situation, it kind of put a halt to that movement forward. It really, really did. In a way, because there's always good and bad to everything, right? There's always good and bad. It depends on how you look at it, how you think about it, how you play with it, how you digest it, how you perceive it, how you move with it. This acceptance slowed my movement forward. That again, I didn't wake up to a lot of these ideas until well into my 50s. But if you've hung out with me for any length of time, in my affirmations that, right, affirmations that I've done my entire life, not even woken up to any of these ideas. I am grateful for my good health. I'm grateful for my good health, right? But what if that good health, right, didn't come from my affirmations, right? That it actually came from that acceptance in my limitations, whether they were limitations or not. I accepted them as limitations. And because I don't cry over spilt milk, because, right, of that acceptance, that I released it, right? I released it. Why am I beating myself up? Right? I accept that I'm not smart enough. I accept I'm not pretty enough. I accept that I'm not young enough. I accept that I'm not strong enough. I accept I'm not, right? We can just keep going on and on and on and on and on. But every time I said I don't accept that, I'm putting bricks there, so it's stopping my movement forward in any way, right? Because I'm just accepting it's just a coping mechanism to not have to deal with the problems in my life, not to have to set goals and move towards those goals, not to take the reins of my own life and make it better, right? I accept that you think that I can't do it. You're right. Right? And it's like one of my mentors, online mentors say, whether you think you're right or you're not, you're right. Right? You're right. And because I accepted those situations, because accepted my fate, because I accepted what other people thought of me, I didn't make any movement forward. But being the person that I am, right? That despite no matter what, I'm going to make the best life for myself, right? No matter what, I'm going to do my very, very best. I can't help it, right? I can't help that. I can't, right? It's not acceptable. I'm not acceptable. I'm not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, like, right? Any of those limitations. I accept that. I accept that. But I'm not going to hold on to it. So I'm just going to let it go because that's my fate. I accept it. I accept it. So what if in that acceptance and just letting that all go, you're letting the stress go, right? Because why are you stressing out of something that you can't control, that you can't do anything about except accept, right? There's no point. So you let it go, right? So what if when you're letting that go, you're releasing that stress, and because you're releasing that stress, you're not holding on to it. You're not digesting it into your system. You're not beating yourself up. You're not bringing up the guilt and shame, right? You're not letting your thoughts and your emotions whip you into shape, right? Force you to do those difficult things. In all actuality, it's almost like giving you permission to give up even before you started, right? I'm grateful I started my YouTube channel, right? Didn't look anything like this when I started, but it's the fact that I started. And because when I found difficulties in that, right? There was nobody really for me to go to talk to, right? Nobody to say, oh, you can't do that. You're not smart enough, good enough, right? Because they never were interested in doing it themselves. They weren't making that kind of movement themselves, right? I have no friends or family that are YouTubers, right? This is something unique to me. So I'm not listening to the negative because I understand that nobody, right, knows this brand, this platform that I've been building for almost 10 years now, right? More than I do. And I accept that. But in accepting that, right, There is that accountability and responsibility to take in the lessons. And in those lessons, you have to shed old ideas, right? I accept a lot. And I think in that acceptance, I find a lot of my procrastination problems, right? Because I accept that I can't do this. I accept that this is going to be difficult, right? And I find those moments that I want to give up are tied up to that because I accept that I won't be able to do it, right? I accept that. And I don't need anybody around me to say that I'm not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, because it's in my programming. I've heard it all my life that I accept that. But when you accept these kind of things, when you really want something, when you want to set those goals and you really want to move towards them, they're uncomfortable. They're difficult. They're frustrated, right? And that idea that stress is going to interfere with your health, well, that's only going to interfere, right, through the lessons that I've learned along the way. And I trust in the lessons that I trust in. I do, right? But if I just keep moving in what I enjoy and what makes me comfortable and in what feeds my soul to make it feel like it matters, to make it feel like it's smart or pretty, right? Or kind, forgiving, accepting. And it's okay. It's okay to be accepting because it kept me healthy. I do believe, right? I haven't delved into it too deep, but like I said, it hit me like a brick upside the head, this word acceptance, because it makes sense that if I'm letting the stress go because I accept that I can't do it, so why am I worrying about it? Why am I stressing about it? Why am I pursuing about it? But all that pursuit and all that movement and right, that's all beneficial. It's all beneficial, but at the same time, it is stress. And if you don't love what you're doing, that stress is going to uh, cause havoc in your well-being. I believe that. In acceptance today, I was kind of looking at it in the perspective as a coping mechanism, and it makes sense in my life, right? Because I trusted the people, right? Right? Never deny your own because in the end, that's all you've got. Well, that might be true, right? But the thing is, sometimes when you deny your own, you learn to accept yourself, right? And that's what we're all trying to do here is to be a little bit more accepting of ourselves, right? Accepting of our situations. Yes, we don't cry over spilt milk. If we really can't do something about it, right? Why do we hold on to that difficulty, that stress, that pain, right? I learned just to let it go, right? But sometimes we throw out the goodies with the garbage, don't we? Right? Sometimes when we start cleaning house, we're throwing out our most favorite outfits. And sometimes we're doing it mindlessly. Sometimes we're looking to the future where we might lose 5 or 10 pounds, right? But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're not throwing out the good parts of us, right? The parts that are keeping us moving forward. Like I said, I didn't wake up to a lot of these ideas until well into my 50s. And I think if I was strong enough to bear a little bit of my share, a little bit more of my share, contributed a little bit more, leaned less on the people that I trusted, knew best for me, right? When in all actuality, I should have, right, known best for myself, trusted myself, right? That wasn't the way the programming is. I'm grateful for however the lessons get to me, even if they get to me 40 or 50 years late. They got to me, right? It is never too late. And I do believe that 100%. Whatever I've taken in, you're not taking that away from me. Any of that course correction, right? You're not taking that. I'm not falling backwards. Why am I not falling backwards? Because I'm only looking forwards. I'm only looking forwards. Backwards is only into um, understanding where we went wrong in the process so that we can do a little bit of course correcting. And we could have gotten this word acceptance this week, but without me looking back and putting myself in my own shoes as a child, right? To see the person that I was, to see how I accepted my fate, my calling, my place in the world. And that was, right, only through the eyes of somebody else's need to feel like maybe they were contributing a little bit, right? Or they knew better, right? Or just to put me in my place. Sometimes it's just in that resentment and that jealousy. Sometimes it's in that idea of, oh my goodness, right? She's going off the deep end now, but it's only because, right? They're not paying attention to the same topics that I'm paying attention to. They don't have the same problems that I have, the same limiting beliefs that I have, right? They're working on something different. And that's okay because it takes all kinds to make the world. The only thing that's important is that we are taking in lessons, that we are moving. And if you're in that accepting state, accepting of your place in the world, right? And you find you're not making any movement, take a look at why you're accepting of your fate, right? You might come to realize, like I did today, 62 years old, that I've been using that acceptance as a way to procrastinate, to give up on myself, to not pursue my goals, my ambitions, my dreams, right? And probably just to accept that things are the way they are for a reason. And I don't always get that reason. And sometimes you accept that. And when you accept that, you just let it go. You just let it go, right? And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing at the same time. I got here late to the party. And that's the truth. I got in late to the party. But because I got in late to the party, I got to have a few extra lessons, a few extra experiences, right? And because I'm taking this all so seriously, because it is my movement forward, that I really do have to pay attention when these things come across my path and not question how they come across my path or why they come across my path, but just be grateful that they do. Because, oh my goodness, I had no idea, right, that my acceptance of, right, my situation, it's always in a constant state of change. It always is. But because I don't stress about it, because I don't work and pursue to better it, and I do now, right? But maybe I will more tomorrow because I better understand what I have been doing, right? That I have been quite often my own worst enemy, but not with intent, right? Because I don't love anybody more in this world than I do myself, right? I love my life. Even in the difficult moments, I am grateful to be here. And I have to say, that's a gratitude that goes wholeheartedly to my father, who, right, who would have done anything to be able to live to be 80, 90, or 100 years old. And he treated his 47 years that he was on this earth, right? Like every day was a new beginning. And if he had his way, it would be. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer for today. And we'll see each other tomorrow. We're still on the topic. A couple of more days, you guys. Acceptance. Isn't that neat? Right? This word acceptance, right? I did a lot of that. Right? I accepted my fate. I accepted the place that I was sitting in. Right? I accepted what other people thought of me. I just accepted, not realizing that my acceptance was just another coping mechanism. That worked, right? It worked because I was able, because I accepted my place. Why am I going to stress about it, right? Get that off my plate. Get it off of my plate. And I just let it go. But when I let go of those things are sometimes the most amazing goals, the most amazing ambitions, the most amazing dreams, the most amazing potential relationships, the most amazing experiences that we could ever possibly think of. But because we accepted that so and so said that we couldn't or we shouldn't, right? That we accepted that and then possibly missed out on an opportunity because we gave ourselves permission in a way of accepting our state. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. See you tomorrow.